So we're going to get into Matthew chapter 13. It's about the parable of scattering of the gospel or the seeds. And this is the first time when the Messiah starts teaching in parables in the book of Matthew. So let's read it and get into it. Hopefully learn something. So verse 1, the same day when Jesus, y'all shot out of the house and he sat by the seaside. So he went to the beach. You know how the beach is, very relaxing, very peaceful. I like to hear the waves. It's going to be a nice event. And great multitudes were gathered together onto him, so that he went into a ship and he sat, and the whole multitude stood on the shore. This was the first beach concert, BC. You get it? Beach concert, BC. You get it? Verse 3. And he spake many things unto them in parables, saying, Behold, a sower went forth to sow. And when he had sowed, so he's spreading seed, his farmers, they sowed seed. Some seed fell by the wayside, and the fowls came and they devoured them up. All right, so birds came and picked up those seeds. And then some fell upon stony places where they had not much earth. And they forthwent they sprung up because they had no deepness of the earth. And when the sun was up, they were scorched. And because they had no roots, they withered away. And then some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprung up and choked them. But others fell onto good ground and brought forth fruit, some 100, some 60-fold, some 30-fold. Who has ears to hear, let him hear. So he's preaching. People probably like, okay, that's an interesting story. But verse 10, the disciples came unto him and said unto him, why do you speak in parables? And he answered and said unto them, because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. For whosoever has, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken away even that he has. Now he's explaining, even the disciples ask him why he's speaking in parables, and now he's answering them with another parable. He's like, but he's answering them with the truth. He's like, I'm giving you the mysteries of the heaven, but it's in a parable way, because the mystery of the kingdom of God is given in a simple way. Just like as a child, we like to hear children's stories. The gospel is so simple, but to our carnal minds, it kind of it feels like it's complicated. But he's actually breaking it down very simple. But we have to have that kind of that childlike faith, that kind of mentality where we have a childlike trusting mentality with the Father. And we have to kind of see things the way he's really breaking it down very simply, but we expect it to be a little bit more complicated. And also, in context to the people, a lot of the people of Israel at this time, they are illiterate. They cannot really read and write in the modern day when the scriptures written in Hebrew. Nope. So it's like this was pretty right up their alley, what they can kind of comprehend in a parable way. But he's breaking it down that is this is the mystery of the kingdom is given to you in a parable. But he's also doing this because in the sense to kind of shame the wise people at that time, like the Pharisees and the educated Greeks. But going on to the verse 12, where it said, whoever has, to him shall be given, and he shall have more in abundance, but whoever has not, from him shall be taken away even that little that he has. And that's why the little faith that we have, when he says like one seed sprung up, grew fruit, one was 100-fold, one was 60-fold, one was 30-fold. Different people are going to bear different levels of fruit, but whatever amount of faith that you have and whatever capacity that you have, the Most High can multiply it to the maximum capacity that you're able to do. But the people who have even a little bit, the little bit that they have, you still have to work that little bit out, because even if you have a little bit, if you compare yourself to someone else, you can still maximize that potential. But even if you think that, I don't have a little, I don't need to work it out, that's going to be taken away from you too if you don't work it out to the to the maximum capacity that you have, because only you and the Most High know what your limitations are and what the maximum amount of potential that you have. But you have to work that out, because we all have a gift and we all have something that the Most High has given us to make us, who we are and what we're supposed to be doing on this earth. But moving on, verse 13, therefore speak I to them in parables, because they see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand. And he's quoting Isaiah right there. Verse 14, in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah, which says, by hearing you shall hear and shall not understand, and seeing you shall see and shall not perceive. For this people's heart is waxed gross, their ears are dull of hearing, their eyes have closed, lest at any time they should see with their eyes, hear with their ears, and should understand with their heart, and should be converted, and I should heal them. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. And he's quoting Isaiah right there, because he's saying these people have become so, their hearts become so gross, wax gross. It's like, it's become so heavy that it's not willing to let anything in it. And their ears are so dull, they can't listen to anything. Their eyes are closed, they can't see, And he says, he's doing this because he's like, lest they see with their eyes and hear with their ears, and they should change, they would be converted. But he's giving them the truth and the message and the way to salvation in a very simple way, but they can't comprehend it because it's their stubborn hearts, their lack of faith, basically. But he's like, this was prophesied already in Isaiah, and he's just saying, blessed are your eyes, because you can see and you can hear. He's at verse 17, for verily I say to you that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see those things which you see and have not seen them, and to hear those things which you hear and have not heard them. So he's telling the disciples they're going to be blessed because they're receiving something that many people wanted to hear, but they couldn't hear. And now he's explaining it to them, because remember, he was on the beach preaching, but the disciples, they get the background story, they get the explanation. So the people only, like the people who get it, get it. The people who don't get it, they don't get it. But the disciples are actually getting the interpretation of what he's talking about. So this is what the parable was meant. Hear ye therefore the parable of the sower. When any of one heareth the word of the kingdom and understand it, if not, then comes the wicked one and catches away that which was sown in his heart. And this is he which received seed by the wayside. So y'all remember the first person, the sower, he threw seed on the wayside, and as soon as he threw it down, the birds came and snatched it away. So he's saying that's the first group of people. They hear the word, but they don't even have time to even digest it and meditate on it, because as soon as they hear the word, the enemy just comes in and like gives them another idea. Like they might hear a good message from someone preaching, and then all of a sudden they get Instagram, like, oh man, I gotta do this. Oh, YouTube video. Oh, I gotta do this at home. Oh, I gotta do this at school. Oh, I gotta do this at work. It's like they mind immediately just go somewhere else. So they don't even get a chance to even meditate on it. So it's gone. So they're the first group that's just excluded. They just excluded themselves because of their mind is always elsewhere, or they allow their minds to be taken away by other thoughts. And verse 20, but he that receives the seed onto stony places, the saying that he's the word and unknown with joy, he receives it. So initially they hear the word and they hear with joy, they get excited. Oh, wow, this is great. Yet has he not root in himself, but dureth for a while. For when tribulation or persecution arises because of the word, by and by he is offended. So this is the second group of people. They hear the word, they're on the stony places. So they hear the word and they're like, man, this is a great message. I love it. I love hearing the truth. It changes me. I feel so happy. I feel so joyous. They get emotional about it. They get emotion. But the one thing about it is that emotions, they kind of, it can take you to a good height, like zeal. It makes you passionate. But as soon as you go through a difficult time in your life, you're like, man, I'm going through a hard time. My family, my finances, things in life just wearing me down. I don't think I can really handle this no more. I don't really think that God is real. This Bible ain't real. man, what I thought when as a child, maybe this was real, but in real life, it ain't really real. And you get offended when someone brings up God. Like, man, if God really was real, he'll help me through this situation. So that's the second group of people. They get high off emotions, but they don't really have a root. They don't have a foundation. And so then while they get persecuted or they get questioned or go through a trial, they start to like, man, I'm done with that. I'm not for that. So that's the second group of people. Then he said the third group, verse 22, he also that receives the seed among the thorns is he that hears the word and the care of the world and the deceitfulness of riches, they choke the word and he becomes unfruitful. So that's the third group of people. They are like the people they like the seed that grew in a good soil, but amongst the soil they got thorns, they got weeds. So that they trying to grow, but these thorns, these weeds, these other uh uh these other greenage that's around them, they're choking them out. And that's the care of the world. It's like you want to do right, but you got other things going on. You want your career to be the most successful. So you got to put things on hold. It's like, man, I want to read that Bible, but I got to make this money, Man, I really want to do this. And, in regards to my family, but man, if I do this, I can't do that. You see that with a lot of career women. They delay a lot of their chances to have a fruitful relationship or even have children. They see that as a burden. They see that it's like, man, I gotta do this. But a fruit, in the scriptures, fruit is not just about the food that we eat. As fruit is also the fruit of your womb. That's also your children. The children are considered fruit because that's coming from your body. And that's really the most precious and most important part of yourself that you'll ever leave behind is the fruit of your children because they're a reflection of you. Really, that's you again in the flesh, metaphorically and physically speaking, that's really you in another body, just your child that you're going to leave behind. So it's like that, the deceitfulness of riches, the care of the world, they prevent you from having that fruit and they prevent you from leaving a legacy for the Most High. And that's honestly what I think a lot of people, majority of people probably get caught up, especially who read the Bible and either they're in Christendom or they're trying to get into the scriptures. They have this, they have the potential, but a lot of times sometimes they get choked up by the cares of the world. And they try to, almost feel like the riches, they think that riches is something that God, the Most High wants them to do. Like, but he said that's a deceitfulness of it, because when it's deceitful, it looks like it's good. It looks like, oh man, I'm doing this for the Most High. I see that a lot on social media with a lot of career women. They really believe that they doing this for God. They're the most on zeal for God. They got all the pages, they got all the messages. And you look on their page and they're just a single woman. They're 30 years old, 40 years old, 50 years old. And you're like, but you only have a family. But I'm on fire for the Lord. I'm on fire. I'm a prophetess. I'm a preacher. And they really believe that they're doing something for the Most High because they're like, God has blessed me with this career. He's blessed me with this life, all this money. But they don't have anything else around their way in their world in their life to show that, where's the fruit of that besides the money and the riches. That's deceitfulness because that makes you think like, no, I'm not doing this. I got this going on, but that's not real. That's not the fruit that the Most High wants that person to really bring about in this world. That's the fruit of the woman is really her duties as being that wife and being that mother. That's the beauty of the woman. But the deceitfulness of riches takes that away. In the same way with the man, you know, he kind of sees he got to be on the grind, got to take care of business. But like Psalm 127 says, the Most High blesses his beloved with rest. And a lot of times money stops you from really being restful. It makes you not honor the Sabbath because you got to grind, you got to work, you got to do that. And by doing that, you're dishonoring your Father in heaven by not obeying his command to tell you to rest. You need one day of rest. You can grind all 6 days of the week, but one day he just wants you to take some time. All right. So that's the fourth group. So verse 23, But he that receives the seed onto the good ground is he that hears the word and he understands it, which also bears fruit and brings forth some 100-fold, some 60, and some 30. So it's not about hearing the word. It's not just about hearing it and expressing it with emotion and joy. Oh, yeah, all praise, hallelujah. It's about you hearing the word and you understand it. You understand, you bring it down, you comprehend, like, okay, this is a good message. It makes me feel good, but it also makes me want to do this and do that. And I understand it now. Like, I'm supposed to do this. I'm not just supposed to be hyped up. I'm supposed to do this and I'm supposed to change. And that wisdom will help you make better decisions. And that will give you opportunities to make money, but it also will give you opportunities to how to survive in this world without compromising yourself. You know? So that's the good fruit. That's the fourth group of people that will hear that. And some will grow and they will bear fruit to 100-fold, 60 and 30. But it's not about how much you make, because they all started off with one, but some have just a higher potential level, potential earning. But that's just, that's between you and the Most High. What's your potential? So let's keep going. It's another parable. Verse 24, another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good field in the field, go and sowed good seed in the field. So he's again talking about seed. So the kingdom is like a farmer who plants seed. And if you ever grown anything in a garden, you know that it takes time for a seed to grow. Sometimes you have to put multiple seeds in the field. And sometimes you might put 10 seeds and only 2 grow. Sometimes you put 10 seeds and only 1 grow. Sometimes you put 10 seeds and 0 grow. But you know that, it's going to take some time. And some seed are going to mature. Some seeds are going to grow and then they're going to fail. Some are going to get bigger. Some are going to be bigger than others. Some are going to be smaller than others. But that's how the kingdom of heaven is like. It's going to take time. So it's not going to be an instant process. But verse 25, but while the man slept, his enemy came and he sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. So enemy came, and tares are just like shoots of basically like weeds. And when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. And so the servant of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, did not thou sow good seed in the field? From whence then have these tares? Where did these tares come from? And he said, an enemy has done this. The servant said unto him, Will thou then that we go and gather them up? But he said, Nay, no, don't gather them up now, lest while we gather up the tares, you root up also the wheat with them. So let both grow together unto the harvest. And in time of the harvest, I will say to the reapers, gather ye together first the tares and bind them in bundles and burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. That's very coded language right there. But one thing about wheat and tares, I wish I had a picture. That would have been really good. But a wheat and a tare, they grow very similar. But when a wheat starts to bloom, the wheat, it makes the stem of the wheat kind of bend down because it's so heavy that it kind of bows down. So then when the reapers come, they can cut down the tares a lot more easier because all they have to do is just slice it with a sickle, and they can slice the tares off because they're not going to hit the wheat because it's going to be bending down. So it'd be easier to knock them down that way. But no, that's also talking about the humility that the believers have, who hear the message. They're going to be humbled by it. But people hear the message and they're just going to be stubborn about it. They're going to be proud. That's why I say pride comes before the fall, And then just same with, saying in those harvesters, there's like the angels who are going to gather the believers, and they're going to separate the believers from non-believers, and they're going to go into the place of eternal fire, and some are going to go to the barn or to the Father's house. So that's all I got. I didn't want to go too long. I just wanted to talk about 2 parables about sowing seed. I thought that was very good. We've been growing a lot in the garden, and it's just been on my heart to really talk about seed and just farming, and seeing how the kingdom is very similar to that. It takes some time, but you feel so proud of the accomplishment of seeing something grow from the earth. So hopefully, people get that analogy, and hopefully this got you thinking. All right. Shalom.